So you want a pompadour, but do you really have what it takes? Let me start by saying that this video is not a tutorial. If you want a how-to video on styling a good pompadour, then I have a separate video for that. I will leave a link to it in the description below as well as in the end screen of this video. So go ahead and check it out. But this video today is more of a guideline of all the practical information you need to know in order to have a pompadour. And I will walk you through what a pompadour is, what it is not, as well as what you need to have in order to keep a good looking pomp. By now I assume that you should know what a pompadour or what a pomp is, and in case you don't, in the latest explanation possible, it is basically the Elvis Presley hairstyle. I will get into detail on what it really is in a bit, but first let me just say that this hairstyle is not for everyone. You need some time, you need some dedication, and some even say that you need an attitude in order to pull this hairstyle off. I don't completely agree on the whole attitude thing. However, I believe that you do need confidence in order to rock a pompadour. You will definitely turn some heads sometimes if you have a pompadour. You will definitely get at least a bit of attention. And if you don't like attention, you might as well just shy away from this hairstyle. Confidence is key when rocking a pompadour because if you don't really have too much confidence, this will show in the way you style your hair, and you don't want that. You want your pompadour to look as sturdy and proud as your confidence is. So if you keep this hairstyle consistently and do it on a daily basis, it even becomes a lifestyle of some sort. Some of you might know already that the pompadour started out as a women's hairstyle in 18th century France. To be exact, it was a symbol of wealth. It was worn among high-class women, women of the royal court. In fact, it was named after the mistress of Louis XV, Madame de Pompadour, who, contrary to what some YouTube videos might tell you, has ironically never sported a pompadour. She wore her hair pretty low. The pompadour itself started becoming a men's hairstyle when it made its way into the 20th century and onto the 1950s. Desi Arnaz and James Dean, they were actors. They were among the first to sport the pompadour look, and later on it became very synonymous with the rockabilly music scene, which is pretty much why I'm sporting this look. With musicians such as Johnny Cash, Roy Orbison, Billy Lee Riley, and Elvis Presley himself, of course. He is the main poster child of the pompadour. Now, I'm not here to discuss the history, but at least you get the general idea already. So let's dive into what a pompadour really is. These are not pompadours. Well, they may be the first results you get when you type pompadour on Google Images. However, I can't stress enough that these are not pomps, but they're quiffs. You're more likely going to have more accurate results returned when you type classic pompadour into the search terms and get images such as these. Now, these are true pompadours. Now, first of all, let us talk about the difference between a pomp and a quiff. Too many people nowadays, especially in the salon community, they tend to confuse these terms and they even make them interchangeable. And sometimes they mean quiff when they say pomp, and they actually both mean really different things. To me, a quiff is loose, it is full of volume, it is more free-flowing, it is usually pushed back sometimes to the sides or diagonally, and it usually has a matte finish. And because of how loose it is, a quiff usually has almost no form or structure. It is free-flowing. A pompadour, however, it's slick, it's sculpted, it is usually shiny, and it has a form of its own. It has a pretty specific shape. It pretty much follows a wedge-shaped profile where it starts at pretty low in the back, and as you get to the front, it increases gradually in volume until when it reaches its maximum height, it just curves forward. And this to me is a pompadour. So in short, a quiff is loose and matte, while a pompadour is slick and usually shiny. The main defining point of a pompadour is how the front of the hair is styled. Look at these three pictures over here. Only one of these three images is what I would define as a true pompadour, despite them looking similar to each other to some extent. They're slick, they're all sculpted, but only one of these is a true pompadour. The most important aspect of a pomp is that the front must be round and curved in a forward manner, as you can see. my pompadour over here. Now, if it is not rounded forward, then it's not a pompadour. Now in this picture over here, this blocky looking hairstyle is what I would define as a pullback. Notice how the front of the hair falls at a slight angle going towards the back. This is a pullback. If the front of the hair just goes straight upwards, it does not go back at a slight angle, nor does it curve forward, it just goes completely straight up in the air. Then this is a wedge. The number one styling mistake as to why some people end up with pullbacks or wedges instead of pompadours is because they comb their bangs completely straight. I wouldn't want to ruin my pomp, so I'll just do it like this. They comb it up like this or like this a little without doing anything to it afterwards. In order to have a real proper pomp, you're supposed to at least tease the hair forward. In my pompadour tutorial, I mentioned that what I do sometimes is that I would launch the back, I would launch my hair to the front using my palms, and then I would lock it in place with the fine tooth end of the sides, and then I would continue to do this until I'm satisfied. However, you can also take the wide tooth end of your comb, stick it in the front, and just gently tease it and go downwards a little until it just curves. This is what I do nowadays because I just found the proper way to actually, for my hair type, to really dig it in and to just tease it forward without ruining my pompadour. Well, back then I didn't really know how to do this, and I keep on ruining my pompadour. So right now I just found that with the perfect amount of product in your hair, you can actually tease it forward. It takes a little practice, but that's the whole point of the art of pompadour styling. And another reason as to why people end up with blocky looking hairstyles instead of pompadours is because of the products they're using. But I'll come back to that a little later. Not everyone has the same hairline, hair type, and hair density. My message being that some people are able to bring their pompadours more forward than others because their hairline and hair type are just blessed to do so. I understand how much of a struggle it can be if you have a really high hairline and you're not able to bring your pompadour so forward. But to me, the forwardness of your pompadour really does not matter so much as long as you have the front of your pompadour right in a way that it's already round, then that is already forward enough in my book. You don't have to bring it super forward that you look like an anime character, but at least just make it round and forward. That shows that you put more effort into hair compared to those who do a pullback or a wedge. Just keep it rounded. So now, when it comes to pomp, some people think about height. I personally believe that the height or volume should be the least of your worries. You shouldn't worry about height at all. It does not matter. Personally, I don't care about height, but you can have a small pomp. But the most important thing, like I keep on emphasizing in the entirety of this video, is of course the front of the pompadour, because that's the whole point of it. It needs to be round, it needs to be curved. Just look at Desi Arnaz and Johnny Cash. These guys don't have a lot of height, but they have really killer form. Now let's talk about the sides and the back. They're completely optional. If you're all about the orthodox, old school greaser look, go ahead and grow your fenders, your sides, and then comb the back. And if you're willing, grow them long enough so that you can comb them all the way to the back, that they would meet at the center and fall back down. And this is what you call a DA, or a duck's ass, or a duck tail. This is pretty much synonymous with the youth, the greasers back in the 50s. However, not everyone is capable of doing a DA because of their hair type. They might even have cowlicks in the back of their hair that prevents them from doing a DA. So you can still comb your sides completely backwards and just comb the back of the hair downwards, just like I do. This is what you call a Boston. Even Johnny Cash himself had a Boston along with his pompadour, and you don't really have to grow your sides as long as you have to with a DA. And in my opinion, if you want to clean things up a little, you can also opt for the taper. Now, a taper is basically when you clean up the sides and back of the hair so that they gradually go from shorter to longer until you can comb them either backwards, diagonally, or whatever. Basically, the point of a taper is that it gradually gets from short to longer as you go up. That is what a taper is. So the height level of your taper depends on personal preference. You can go for a low taper, a mid taper, or a high taper. I personally go for somewhere between low and medium. You can't really see it right now because it's been a month since the last time I went to my barber, but that's usually what I get for a taper between a low and medium height. And you can do whatever you want with your sides. You can either comb them back if they're long enough, or you can comb them diagonally, you can comb them downwards, but the higher taper is, you're more likely to comb them downwards, especially if your hair is on the coarser and denser side. And finally, if you want a new school twist to your pompadour, you want the old school element of a pompadour but still keep it new school, you can opt for no sides at all, where you basically shave the sides completely and go for a pompadour undercut. Or if you want to be a little more aesthetic, you can go for a razor fade pompadour. Now the difference between a fade and a taper, well, a fade, just like a taper, it also goes gradually from shorter to a bit longer. However, a fade is usually high, while a taper can take place at any length, and a fade also follows a gradient. So basically you start off with just plain skin, and as you go up, you get a little more hair. So it just kind of looks from light to dark. So a taper doesn't usually have a gradient, but a razor fade has a gradient. So if you want no sides, if you have really coarse and dense hair, I suggest either you painfully wait for it to grow out if you really want the old school look and you're willing to endure it, or you can just shave them off and go for a razor fade or a pompadour undercut. On the final aspect of a pompadour's anatomy, we will discuss the shine of a pompadour, but do not completely take my word for this brief section because it is highly opinionated. But I thought it might be good to include in this video. In my opinion, a pompadour's soul lies in its shine. A dry pompadour is almost lifeless. A pompadour looks best with at least any level of shine. I don't care if it's a low shine, a medium shine, or a high shine. But a pomp needs to have at least a bit of a polish to it. Now that we discussed the pompadour's anatomy, I want to say that if you don't have the right haircut for a pomp currently, then I recommend that you do that first before anything else. It all starts with the cut and everything else just follows later on. So if you want a good pompadour, do not go to a hair salon. While salons may excel in the current hairstyle trends, they usually are not the best to deliver more traditional styles. So go to your local barbershop for that. And the guidelines I gave earlier about a pompadour's anatomy may come in handy for giving an overall picture of what you want and do not want, such as if you want a fade, if you want a taper, if you want a DA. But in this video, I will not give you the exact specifications or length that you need to have a pompadour because they may vary per person. The length I have for a pomp may not work with you, but any good barber would have a clue. So do not go to a salon, go to a barber shop for a true pompadour cut. So let's say you already have the cut, and now let's talk about the products. Let's first talk about the pre-styling stage, which is usually done to blow dryer. Some people tend to skip the stage, especially purists. And in my pompadour tutorial video, I had a comment or two from some traditionalists saying that greasers and rockabillys did not use blow dryers back in the day, but I would respond by saying that this is not the 1950s anymore. We have all kinds of styling tools and styling products that did not exist back then or were not accessible to a lot of people back in the day. And now we have access to them. They're not here for no reason. Just you do whatever you want as long as it gets you the final desired result. Now for those of you who want to pre-style and prep your hair, I find that grooming tonics work best to give you that extra kick to your hair, such as Stickmore's Boost Tonic and Ruzel's Grooming Tonic, which is what I use. Not only do they give you extra volume boost in your hair, but they also really help providing the basic structure. They lay out the foundation for forming the basic shape of your pompadour prior to any actual styling. And if you have finer hair, they can also help in making your hair look fuller and thicker. It gives you that extra bounce. Volumizing creams work generally well too, such as Lockhart's Enigma, but with creams, I find that you should use them sparingly because if you use them too much, try not to go overboard with them or else they'll weigh your hair down. So apply these pre-stylers and then blow dry them into shape. But if you don't want to use any pre-stylers, I still recommend blow drying, especially after the shower. After you come out of the shower, your hair is all wet, all damp. That is the best time to blow dry. You just want to take your brush, turn on a blow dryer on medium or high heat, and just, lay out the basic foundation for your pompadour. So my pompadour tutorial video, I showed how to lay out the foundation for styling a pompadour with a blow dryer, using Rules of Grooming tonic as a pre-styler. But for those who don't want to pre-style, but just want to blow dry the shower, you can just follow this technique, but without adding the tonic. So now, getting to the styling phase, a pompadour obviously needs to be slick and tight, and not the opposite. Therefore, you should stay away from texturizing products. Stay away from clays, stay away from paste. You want to avoid any products that give you an obvious separated look to your hair. So pomades are obviously the best when it comes to styling a pomp. I mean, you can use gel. However, gels don't provide you with the best shape for your pompadour. Gels are pretty slick, but they're most likely to give you a blockier shape, such as a pullback or a wedge. And furthermore, maintenance throughout the day would be pretty difficult if you want to restyle anything, unless you use a ton of gel and hairspray to fix it in, which is something I wouldn't recommend because these products would dry the hell out of a hair, and that would really not be good for it. So you just want to use pomades. So you have oil-based pomades, just old school grease, and you have water-based pomades, which are divided into the subcategories orthodox and unorthodox. If you don't know what that means, I have a separate video talking about pomade types of pomades. So if you don't know what that means, just go ahead and refer to that video where you talk about these different types of pomades. So first of all, let me just say that I would personally stay away from orthodox water-based pomades, especially if you're a beginner trying to style a proper pomp, because some pomades like Suavecito, for example, these gel type orthodox pomades, they tend to dry up pretty quickly. So it would be a race against time trying to get your hair into the proper shape while the product just dries in pretty quickly. So you really wouldn't want to rush it. You want to take your time. And furthermore, like I said, gels would tend to give you a blockier shape, and basically orthodox water-based pomades are kind of like harder gels, or gels with more of a thicker consistency. So they would be more likely to give you a blockier shape unless you have mad skills and you can style a round shape with it. But that's usually once you already figured out how to do a pompadour. Unorthodox water-based pomades, I find that they're awesome for beginners who don't really like having the feeling of product not being washed out of the hair after one shower. So basically, you have the best of both worlds. You're able to, with unorthodox water-based pomades, such as stuff from O'Dowd's or Temple & Tonics or Sheer Revival, like Crystal Lake, for example, you would be able to style a natural round shape as you would with an oil-based pomade while being able to wash out the product with just one brand of shampoo in the shower. So this is perfect for those who want a really nice traditional pompadour but don't like any residue in your hair. But if you really want the true pompadour look and true pompadour lifestyle, then you should start using some old school grease. Go ahead and use some oil-based pomades. Black and White is one of the best starter pomades I've found because, if you're just new to pomades, you might want to try medium holds first. This is sort of like a light medium, but closer towards a medium. And it's not too difficult to apply to your hair. It's pretty easy to use. And furthermore, it's also, it takes about 2 or 3 washes to get out with about 3 scoops in my hair, I found. So it's not as difficult to wash out as a lot of oil-based pomades are. So it's a very beginner-friendly pomade, and furthermore, you get quite a lot of product for the price you pay. It's not that expensive either, and legend has it Elvis Presley used Black and White pomade as well. So this is actually it's a really great starter pomade, and it makes my hair look good every single time. So cocktailing products as well, that's when you mix more than one pomade. You would mix at least 2, sometimes even 3 pomades. But usually 2 is the case, where you would start with a heavier holding pomade, such as Lockhart's Goon Grease or Roussel Pink, for example, to lay the foundation. If you have thicker hair, you need that extra hold. You want to start with a heavier holding pomade and just start out with one layer of it. You would apply it in, comb it in, and then you would take a lighter pomade for shine, such as Black and White Light, or any like really greasy or shiny pomade or anything with a lot of shine. You would take it down and apply it to your hair and then style your pompadour after that. Now, one thing else I want to say about applying oil-based pomades is that it's easier to add than subtract. You wouldn't want to apply too much at once, especially with waxier pomades and heavier holding pomades, because with a lot of waxier pomades, it would be a pain to apply and style with, especially if you have a lot of products. So with waxier and heavier products, more waxy pomades, I recommend that you start with just one small finger scoop, emulsify it down, break it down, apply it to your hair, comb it in, and then gradually repeat until you're satisfied with the amount you have. This might take a little bit of time if you're just starting out with pomades and trying to find the sweet spot for the amount of pomade that works with you. But then again, you wouldn't want to start out with too much product in your hands, because it'll end up being pretty painful to style with and eventually to get it all out of your hair. And oil-based pomades, as I said in this video, they are the most difficult hair products to wash out of your hair, which is why earlier on this video I said that pomping is a lifestyle if you really want to get down into it. The art of styling a pompadour is an art and a lifestyle. There are just some things you have to deal with. You have to deal with greasy hair. If you really want to pump properly, you would have to get used to the feeling of having buildup in your hair. Buildup is basically when you have when you wash out oil-based pomades, but there's still something in it even after a few rounds of shampoo. That's basically buildup. If you really want the pompadour lifestyle, you would actually use this to your advantage. In fact, your hair would actually look better if you used buildup to your advantage, but you would have to deal with greasy pillowcases, which I'd recommend by putting a towel over your pillowcases so that you do not stain them. So there are some things that you have to do in order to integrate a lifestyle to maintain a pompadour. And if you want a pompadour, you better carry a pocket comb with you. It'll definitely be handy throughout the day, because you would definitely have to restyle at least once, unless you have a really strong pomade with you. So a pomp is a hairstyle that really does need quite some maintenance, as I pointed out a few times in this video. And if you experience any problems throughout the day, any pomp problems, then a pocket comb will take care of it for you. It's better to bring one everywhere with you rather than not bringing a pocket comb and having your pomp messed up and you wouldn't know what to do. And styling your fingers is definitely not an option. So before I sign off, let me just say that styling the perfect pompadour would take time. If you're really new to it, you might not get it right the first time. I personally did not get it right the first time, obviously. It looked really bad, but I kept on practicing. It's okay. That's the point. You just have to keep on practicing and just keep on doing it. It took me a few months, actually, until I found something that made me say, that's what I like. But I still did not stop there. I just kept on practicing until eventually I found newer techniques, and now my pompadours look better than ever. I just kept on doing it. So just keep on practicing, and one day it'll become second nature to you, and I'm positive about that. So pompadours are not for the impatient. It is an art, it is a lifestyle, and if you do not have any skill, you will pick them up along the way, and they will definitely get better over time with consistency. And that's all I have to say in this video. If you enjoyed this informational guide I have today, and you want more videos such as this and more pomade reviews, and you just want to keep the channel running, please leave a like, comment, subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon so you never miss a single episode of The Squinty Show. And I'll see you next time on The Squinty Show.